Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'm gonna ask you to please listen to this intro from start to finish because I know when I watch pick a card readings, sometimes I will skip the intro completely and I'll just click on the pile and get my messages. But this intro is important, so please listen from start to finish. I'm gonna try to make it quick, okay? So the topic of this pick a card reading is how you died in a past life. Obviously, this is a very heavy topic, and I just wanted to give you that disclaimer that this is a heavy reading. And if you are not in a good, solid, grounded mental health state right now, you may want to just skip over this reading and wait until, you're feeling a bit better. Because, my number one priority is always to make sure that y'all are okay. I know that when people come to, tarot readings, they usually come to tarot readings seeking guidance, and sometimes they come when they're in a very vulnerable state. So when a reading is more heavy, y'all know I'm always going to look out for y'all and tell y'all like, hey, just go ahead and skip this one, come back to it when you are in a better headspace. Now, I will also say though that I already recorded the readings. So this intro is being recorded after I already did the readings. So I can tell you that there's no graphic or like gruesome information in it. Like I don't describe in graphic detail how you were killed, right? I just describe like what led up to your death, what actually killed you, or like how you died, and then how that's affecting you this lifetime. So it's not like it's anything graphic, but still it's just a heavy topic. So I just wanted to give you that heads up. Also, I wanted to give you the disclaimer that when you listen to this reading, I am in no way saying that you're going to die the same way this lifetime. And I'm telling you that because someone did ask me this, and I'm thankful that they asked me because I don't want any confusion here. When you hear a past life reading about how you died, that does not mean, oh, in this lifetime, you're going to die the same way. Somebody asked me that and they were kind of concerned. They're like, wait, if I died like this, does that mean I'm going to die like this lifetime? And they started getting paranoid. And no, it's definitely not that. I would never give you a prediction about how you're going to die this lifetime. I think that's completely reckless and very unethical. So yeah, no, just because you die a certain way in a past life does not mean that it's going to repeat in this lifetime. So no worries, and you do not have to be paranoid, right? The point of these past life readings are really just to give you a look at things that you dealt with in your past life that could still be affecting you this lifetime. And that can give people a lot of comfort, and a lot of clarity. Like, for example, I got 2 past life readings done by my personal tarot reader, and this is someone who I studied under. I went to her tarot school and things of that sort, so I really trust her to do my readings. But basically what she told me in my first past life reading is that I died during childbirth, which I died like giving birth to my child. And that made a lot of sense to me because this lifetime I have had problems surrounding pregnancy and surrounding conceiving. So it made a lot of sense, and it brought me like this sense of comfort knowing that there's lingering energy from my past life and that I could, start my spiritual healing knowing that information, right? And then also in my second past life reading, it was revealed to me that one of my exes, who I was very, very attached to, like I could not break this attachment to him at all. She basically told me that in this past life, he imprisoned me. Like he had me like locked away. He was like a soldier of some sort. He came into like my village or like my town, killed my whole family, and then locked me away, imprisoned me. And I developed Stockholm syndrome, which is basically a coping mechanism. It's like a psychological coping mechanism where people become attached to someone who's holding them captive or someone who has kidnapped them, right? And they grow strong feelings for the person. It's a coping mechanism. So she was basically saying you still have Stockholm syndrome with this person. That's why you can't break free from them this lifetime. It has nothing to do with love. And as soon as I heard that, everything just made sense. Everything clicked. And it helped me to start the steps towards detaching from him, because before that I was just thinking, hey, this must be the love of my life because, hey, I cannot, break free from this person. But no, no, it was the opposite of that. So that's what makes these past life readings so effective. They really can give you insight that can help you, to move forward on your journey. So that's my intention with these readings. And also, if you want to book a past life reading with me, a one-on-one reading, my store is open. I just restocked, and I actually put the past life readings on sale. So the price is temporarily lowered because for the next couple of days, I'm going to be doing past life content on this channel. So I just figured it would be a good time to, put a couple of readings on sale for any of you who, want to book a past life reading with me. So yeah, that's it. Sorry the intro was so long, but like I said, I feel like it was, important information, important disclaimers. And yeah, we can go ahead and get into the readings now. So as always, just look at the screen and pick whatever card calls towards you the most intuitively, and then the timestamps for that card will be in the description box, and you can go ahead and click the timestamps, and then you will receive your messages. And you can go ahead and pause the screen if you need a little bit of time to choose which pile is calling towards you the most. Okay, group number one, let's go ahead and dive into your reading. So basically, I pulled 3 sets of cards, and I'm basically reading the cards like a story. So starting with the pile at the left, this is going to be like the beginning of what took place. The second card is the middle of what took place, and then the third is how you ended up passing away. Okay, so the first 2 cards are the Queen of Swords and the Distant Horizons card. So immediately, this card gives me the energy of you being a bit, trying to figure out the best word for it. I guess naive is coming through, but also there's just something here about the way that you think. It's like you don't have very strong boundaries. You're too trusting of people. It's like when someone comes into your life, there could be a bunch of red flags, but you don't see the red flags. There's like this innocence to you where people can easily come in and kind of take advantage of you. So that's what I'm seeing for like the earlier parts of your life, or the earlier parts of this story, at least, that you just did not have those like strong boundaries, or the ability to say, this person is harmful to me, I'm leaving. You would consistently give people the benefit of the doubt. People were able to really convince you a lot that you are the problem. Like they could be doing something harmful and they could easily spin it around on you and make you question yourself, and make you question like whether or not you're the problem. So that's what I'm seeing here. And it's quite sad because, like I said, there's an innocence that's to you. I mean, there's an innocence that you have about you in this card. And I feel like it's sad when people come across innocence, they want to take advantage of it instead of protect it. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing for those cards. So the next cards are the Knight of Pentacles and then the main male card. Okay, so this is another person coming in. And when I was meditating on your pile, I figured that there would be another person. I was kind of hoping there wouldn't be, but something like was coming through meditation about there being another person. So unfortunately, there is another person that is involved in this, and I'm thinking that this is a romantic interest, or this is someone who you were with romantically long term, because the Knight of Pentacles is about long-term stability. So I feel like this person came in, they they courted you, like took you out on dates and things of that sort, and you ended up getting into a long-term relationship. I feel like you saw them as someone who was very trustworthy. You saw them as someone who was very stable, and you saw them as someone who you could have a long-term partnership with, like a long-term commitment with. They were someone who was very like take charge, very sure of themselves, very confident and very bold. Like they're the ones who approached you. They're like, I'm taking you out, and they're planning everything. And they just seem like someone who you could really, rely on, that you can really have a stable foundation with to build a long-term, relationship. But they're also coming up as a Judgment card in the reverse. So I feel like their darker traits that are going to come through later, I feel like they're not fully aware of their darker traits, if that makes sense. So it's not like they came in and they took you out on dates, and in the back of their mind while you're out on the dates, they're thinking, oh yes, I'm going to manipulate this person, I'm going to do this and that to this person. They're not thinking that way. I feel like they're they lack self-awareness a lot. So when you first meet them, yeah, they're showing you the best version of themselves, but then later on that mask kind of falls off and you really get to see the darker parts of them. But I don't feel like it was 100% planned from the beginning. I don't think they planned in their mind, like, I'm going to manipulate this person, I'm going to hurt this person, you know? I feel like at the beginning, there were some red flags, because I'm looking at the red flags in the Knight of Pentacles card. It's literally red flags in the card. So there were some red flags, but I feel like you couldn't see them because, once again, there was like a childlike innocence to you and you just wanting to give people the benefit of the doubt. So that's what I'm seeing. Like, it's like you moved into a relationship, a long-term relationship with this person, and I feel like the relationship took a turn for the worse, because now we're moving on to the next set of cards, which is the World card in the reverse and the Lovers card. So you were with this person for a long time, and I feel like the relationship just got very, very, very toxic and abusive. I'm not necessarily seeing physical abuse, but emotional abuse is still abuse. I feel like this person was constantly manipulating you, constantly gaslighting you, and just draining your energy and really beating you down to the point where you became very isolated. The Hermit card is coming out. So this is you just almost like you becoming like a shell of a person because of the way that they are treating you. And then you have like a very strong attachment to them. And I also feel like you rely on them for a lot. So you might rely on them for like money, because like you're living with them. But then also I feel like you just rely on them in general, because you feel like this very strong attachment to them. It feels like a trauma bond to me. So the Hermit card is also the Virgo card, and it's the card about health. So I'm picking up that this person, the amount of emotional damage that they did to you, it ended up like really compromising your health. And I feel like that is what ultimately ended up killing you in this lifetime, is your health failed from the amount of emotional abuse that you were taking from this person. And I feel like you ended up dying. Whew. Okay. It's a good thing I said like prayer before starting these readings, because this is heavy, the energy that I'm picking up. And it's quite sad. It's like feeling so isolated in your last days. You go from being like this very happy-go-lucky, kind of naive, childlike person to this person who's very isolated, quiet, withdrawn. And your health is just deteriorating more and more and more to the point where it ends up killing you. Oof. Let me pull one more card for that. I'm hearing outside people as well. So I'm hearing that this person had like, could have been like cheating, unfaithful, things of that sort. Could have been also ganging up on you a lot, because I'm hearing outside people. So they probably had like friends who would like gang up on you when you would try to complain about what was being done to you. His friends on his side would like gang up on you and beat you down. Let me pull two more. Five of Swords, the Moon card. Yeah, so the Five of Swords and the Moon card is coming out. I feel like the person that you were with, the way that they saw this play out, they genuinely thought that they were the victim, with the Five of Swords being here. This is a person who's very, very delusional, the word narcissist is used a lot on the internet, but that's the best way I can describe this, because the Five of Swords is like they're the victim. Even after you died, they still felt like they were the victim. Like, I'm seeing them like mourning, grieving, and just feeling like, oh, why did this have to happen? And not even making the connection that it's their behavior that led to this. Unbelievable. And I feel like with the Two of Pentacles coming out, that they were most upset about how now they had to manage on their own. I feel like you did a lot for them, especially like in the household, like around the house. And I feel like a large part of them, their grieving process was like, oh, now I have to do all this alone. This is a very selfish, very narcissistic, very like a person who just lacks empathy and self-awareness. Because even in the grieving process, they're more so grieving for themselves. They're not really grieving for the loss of your life so early on. So I feel like this lifetime, there could be a lesson here. And when I say this lifetime, I mean the lifetime that you're listening to this right now, like listening to this recording. This lifetime, I feel like there could be a lesson here about walking away from toxic and abusive people and saving yourself and not letting them deteriorate your mind and deteriorate your health. And there's also a lesson here about recovering from these types of people, whether it be a partner, a parent, a friend group, anyone who their own blind spots, their own shadow behavior, like really impact you negatively. Like there's a lesson this lifetime, or your soul wants you to experience this lifetime, I should say, walking away from these people and fully recovering your childlike spirit and your childlike innocence that you lost in this past life. So we're gonna finish this in the extended. I'm gonna do a more in-depth reading in the extended. And for those of you who don't know how extended readings work, pretty much when people are watching this reading on YouTube, a lot of people watch it, so the messages that come through are more general. But on the extended video, less people tend to watch those, so the messages that come through are a bit more specific. And so it's kind of like getting a personal reading, but you know, it's less expensive than a one-on-one personal reading, right? And if you want to book a personal reading with me, then you know that's an option as well. That'll be in the description box. So yeah, the extended reading will be the link to the extended will be in the description box down below. We'll get more into this relationship and exactly what took place. I'll tap into the cards to see if this person is in your life in this lifetime as well. And then we'll also see like advice for you in this lifetime in order to kind of close out this energy. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you over on the extended. Bye. Okay, group number 2, let's go ahead and dive into your reading. So basically I pulled 3 sets of cards, and the first card is going to be the beginning of what took place, like before your death. The second card is like the middle, and then the third card is, you know, your actual death and what happened. So I'm reading it sort of like a story from left to right, just so we can see the events that actually led up to your passing. Okay. So you have to bear with me when it comes to this reading, because the meditation session that I had before I even pulled cards was a little bit confusing, but I'm going to try my best to basically translate what I heard. Okay, so the first card's out. We have the Temperance card. We have the Privileged Lady card. So what I'm seeing with these 2 cards is that you were someone who really spoke out against injustices, and you felt like it was your duty to do so. I feel like there's this energy of you feeling like God appointed you to speak out against certain things, like anything that you saw that was unfair, where people were being treated unjustly. You were the one to speak out against it. And this is not like you just telling your friends and family like, hey, this is wrong. This is like you like starting movements. Like the image that my guides are giving me is like you standing in like the middle of like a town square and like screaming out like, this is wrong, this is murder, this is like, you know, like just screaming it out and having like crowds of people around you. So you, like I said, you were someone who like you felt like it was your God-given duty to do this. So you became known for doing this for different like causes, speaking up on different people's behalf. I'm specifically seeing that you would really speak up for people who were less privileged, people who were poor, people who were sick, just people who were in a vulnerable state that were not being treated well by, you know, higher powers, like people who had like a higher power in society, that were mistreating people who had less power. Like you were the first one to speak up against those things. Now, I feel like you did make a lot of enemies doing this, but I feel like the most powerful enemy that you made was the church. And I'm seeing that very, very clearly in your cards. I'm seeing that you always were the type of person to speak up against like injustice, but you really, really started to speak up when you became aware of how, what would the word be, corrupt the church is. Let me pull one more card for that. Yeah, you had like a very bold energy to you. Like you knew that making enemies out of the church was going to be very detrimental for you, but you just could not, you felt like, again, like this was your God-given, like you were appointed to do this, I feel. So yeah, the Knight of Swords is here in the reverse. So you said whatever was on your mind about the church. You told anybody who would listen about the corruption of the church. I feel like you also tried to rally up people to go against the church. I also feel like, well, let me pull another card, because I'm trying to figure out what specifically was it about the church that you were speaking out against? Like what triggered this? Nine of Swords, King of Cups. Okay, so the King of Cups in reverse is like you seeing the church is like a lack, like the church, the system that the church was running, like you saw it as having a lack of compassion. Like you saw the church as like it's supposed to be somewhere where people go in order to get closer to God, right? So there should be a sense of righteousness. There should be a sense of like empathy and compassion, but you didn't see that within the church. A lot of the church leaders, you saw them as being extremely heartless, extremely cruel. There is something here about an imbalance in wealth as well. So you could have seen the church as like, more so about money than anything else, more so about money and power. And you felt that that was completely wrong because you, like I said, you felt like you were ordained by God to send messages, right, to people. And you felt like the church was doing the opposite of that, even though they're supposed to also be connecting people to God. You saw it as they're manipulating people, and they are taking people's money, and they are it's like power is what I'm seeing. It's more about power, money, and things of that sort, and being in control more than it is about what church is supposed to be about. I hope that makes sense. So I am seeing here that at some point things that did get very serious, where you were being called to, and this is where things get confusing, because I'm like, it's like specific things that my guides are showing me, but it's so hard for me to translate what I'm seeing because I don't know what to call these types of things. I don't know. It wouldn't be called, okay, I'm just gonna describe it in modern terms, I guess, but they will be called different things, but I don't know what they were called back then. So I guess I'll just describe them in modern terms. Basically, you were summoned, like the head of the church or someone who's affiliated with the church. They summoned you, or they had people looking for you. I feel like they wanted to either bring you in front of them, or possibly like detain you. Like, you know how someone gets put in jail and they're waiting on trial? It's like that. I don't know what it would be called back then. So that's like the best way I could describe it. But you pretty much ran. You ran and you hid. And it wasn't out of like, well, I guess it was somewhat out of fear, but I think more so you were trying to buy time because you felt more so like you still had a lot more to say to people. You had a lot more of your message to spread. And so you didn't want to be detained before you could do that. So it's like you went into hiding. And I'm seeing here that you had like a loyal group of followers. Like it was a very small group, but you had a loyal group of followers. I feel like other people agreed with you, but they never would agree with you out loud. Like this is not something where they would agree with you and say, yeah, like let's all like form a revolution against the church. Like these would be like silent supporters because they wouldn't dare go against the church, So you had, supporters, but they never would support you out loud. But there was a very small group that was willing to like hide you. so that you wouldn't have to be detained right away, is what I'm seeing here. Okay, so what I'm hearing, okay, so what I'm hearing is that it was fear. Like, I was hearing initially, like, no, I'm not afraid. I have more to say. But then my guys are coming in like, that's just what you were telling yourself. Like, underneath, you actually were afraid, and that's okay because you were a human. But I feel like in this lifetime, you tried your best to not be fearful. So when you would feel fear, you would try to like suppress it. And I feel like that kind of worked in your favor because you were able to do a lot of brave things in this past life. But yeah, a large part of it was fear when you were summoned to be detained. But yeah, so this one group of people is hiding you. And you eventually do end up getting caught. Someone somehow finds out where you are. They come and they take you. And the way that you end up dying is through getting executed by the church. They ask you to repeat things that you've said. They ask you to, and I feel like you didn't back down, is what I'm seeing with the King of Swords. Like, you were fearful and you did hide, right? But when they did find you, I feel like you did not back down, and you did speak very loudly and clearly about what it is that you think about the church. And I feel like they ended up executing you. And that's the way that you passed in this past life. And I feel like in this lifetime, you could still carry that trait of being the one that's outspoken, being the one that speaks out against injustice, being the one that speaks out against like authority figures that are corrupt, or they're taking advantage of people with less power. They're being like bullies. Like, you could be someone who stands up to bullies a lot. And you, at times, you do feel fearful. You do feel fearful because you are a human, but you push through that fear and you do it anyway because you feel like it's the right thing to do. I do feel like also in this lifetime, you could be someone who's more spiritual than religious. And this could be the reason why. You could have like a kind of like a disdain for like religious organizations because of the fact that a religious organization put you to death in this past life. So I feel like in this lifetime currently, you are continuing this purpose. You felt like this was cut short for you, that you had so many more people to speak to. You had so much more injustice to fight. And I feel like in this lifetime, you could feel that urge to continue out that mission, to continue on, speaking your truth and fighting against any injustice that you see. And you could have people in this lifetime who really try to tear you down because of that, or really try to hurt you because of that. And this doesn't even have to be like on a large scale. This could be like you were born into like a toxic family and you would speak out against your toxic parents and they would try to like punish you and beat you and abuse you because of it. Like, it could be things like that. But yeah, it's like you, in this lifetime, it's almost like you were sent here to wake people up once again, just like you were doing in this past life. Whether it's on a large scale or on a small scale, you're meant to help people around you to see that they're being hurt, they're being taken advantage of, and to encourage them to stand up and break free from, whatever it is that is oppressing them. And I feel like you are a very spiritual person in this lifetime. I feel like you were a very spiritual person in that past life, where you felt like, God was speaking directly to you and telling you like, hey, this is what you're meant to do. In this lifetime, you could feel similar. Like, you feel like you have like a very specific spiritual purpose when it comes to fighting against injustice. So that's how you passed away. Execution by the church. Very intense. And it was in like, I'm seeing like a square. So the same town square that you would, the same Times Square that you would, speak out against them. Like, I feel like they executed you there. And I also feel like, you could have like a fear of large crowds because of that. Or like, you could be someone who's very sensitive to energy. Like, the crowd that came to watch you get executed was a very large crowd. So if you saw that very large crowd before you got executed, then it's like it can instill a fear in you that carried with you into this lifetime of having like a fear of large crowds, or like a fear of a lot of people looking at you, or something like that. So we're gonna finish this in the extended. Oh gosh, I did not mean to make this reading this long. Yeah, we're gonna finish this in the extended video. So in the extended, we're gonna get a little bit more into this past life. Like I want to get a little bit more detail, a little bit more into how this past life is affecting you this lifetime, because I do feel like there are some people from this past life who are with you again in this lifetime. So we're going to get more into that, and then we're going to get into advice, you know, for moving forward this lifetime. So thank you guys for watching. Oh, and for those of you who don't know how extended readings work, basically a lot of people watch this reading, like the YouTube reading. And so the YouTube reading can be a bit more general because I'm tapped into so many people's energies, but the extended readings, it's a bit more specific. So, or because, you know, less people watch them. So if less people are watching, then there are more specific, messages that come through. So yeah, that's the point of the extended. So it's closer to like a more personal reading. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys over in the extended. Bye. Okay, group number 3, let's go ahead and dive into your reading. So basically I pulled 3 sets of cards. So I'm reading it kind of like a story from left to right. So we're going to start out with the beginning of your story, the middle, and then the end card is going to be how you ended up passing away. So the 2 cards before that are, you know, what led up to your passing. Okay, so the first 2 cards are the 3 of Cups in the reverse and the family room card. So immediately what I'm seeing with these 2 cards is that there were issues that you were having with your family, that your home life was very rough, and you just felt extremely alone and extremely isolated. And I don't feel like you had any friends either. So you just felt like you were extremely alone, feeling like you didn't have a place to call home, didn't feel like you had a safe space, didn't feel like you fit in anywhere, is what I'm seeing here. I feel like to cope with this, you had a lot of methods of escape. I'm sure you've heard of like maladaptive daydreaming, where you just like daydream a lot as a form of escapism so that you don't have to deal with the reality of what you're dealing with. I'm getting that energy from you when you were living in your family's home, but eventually you just decided it was time to just leave the home, that your escapist methods were not good enough anymore. You just couldn't put up with whatever was happening within this home. So eventually you just decided to leave, is what I'm seeing here. So I'm seeing that when you left the home, I'm seeing that you worked extremely hard. Like this, the energy that I'm feeling is that you shifted into like sort of like a workaholic energy, which makes sense because if you're leaving home, you know, you have to support yourself and you don't have anything or anyone to fall back on. So I do see you shifting into like this very masculine energy. And, you know, we all have both feminine and masculine energy within us. So our feminine energy is more of like our emotional side. It's more of like our spiritual side, creative side. And then our masculine energy is more so the side of us that is logical, analytical, that takes action towards things. So I feel like you shifted into like survival mode, right? You have to survive on your own now. So now you have to shift into your masculine energy and work very, very hard in order to support yourself. And I'm seeing you actually become extremely successful. You end up in a career field where you end up making a lot of money because of the fact that you are so hardworking. You end up working your way up. Now, here's where things get tricky, and here's where we get into how you passed away. So you never fully recovered from your trauma of everything that happened in your household. You never really dealt with those feelings. You never really dealt with those emotions or that trauma. All you did was, you know, leave and then, you know, become a workaholic in order to support yourself, which, I mean, that isn't your fault whatsoever. I feel like you didn't have the luxury of being able to sit and process your trauma. Like you had to survive. You had to take care of yourself, right? So when you reached a place where you ended up making a lot more money, I feel like your workload, like you were able to slow down a bit. You weren't in survival mode anymore. I feel like your schedule kind of like freed up a bit. It kind of reminds me of like when people build like a really, really successful company and they're like working overtime to build their company, and then they end up reaching a point where they sell their company and now they have like all this money and all this free time on their hands. It kind of reminds me of that. So that could be what happened. You could have built a company and then sold it, but it's going to be different for different people. So I don't want to get too much into like specific details. We're going to get more specific in the extended reading, but yeah, like I said, you ended up slowing down work wise. You had the ability to now slow down work wise, and because you were able to slow down, now your trauma from what you experienced in your home life, now that is catching up to you. So you did not know how to deal with this trauma. You didn't know how to face the things that you experienced. And I feel like in order to cope, you started to, how do I say this delicately, you started to self-medicate. So I am seeing substance abuse. I'm seeing drugs and alcohol as a means of escape. And you have a lot of money. So you have, access to an endless supply, right? And I'm feeling like you didn't really have many friends around you. There were people, I'm sensing that there were people around, but I think they were more so around because of the fact that you had money. Like you never really felt that, like whoever's around you, they seem like they're business affiliates or business associates or people who just admire you because of like the money that you've made. I feel like you didn't really have anyone close to be like emotional support to you. So I am getting that you just felt extremely alone and you were self-medicating, you were using drugs and using alcohol to escape. And I am hearing what's coming through is that drugs and alcohol played a role in why your family life or your home life was so toxic. I feel like either your parents were like alcoholics or something along those lines. That's kind of coming through because I'm hearing like repeat cycles. So the same thing that, made your home life unsafe is the same thing that you ended up using to medicate. And to escape from the trauma that you experienced. And this is how you ended up passing away. You ended up overdosing on either drugs or alcohol or possibly a combination of both. And you didn't have any children or anything like that. So you didn't really, like, I'm seeing that your fortune, like the fortune that you made, it wasn't passed down to anyone because you didn't really have any family. So I'm not really sure how that works or like who ended up taking over your company or if your company just ended up, I'm not really sure how that works in all honesty, but I am seeing that you didn't have any kids or you didn't have anyone to leave anything to. So it just looks like the money just all, I don't want to say goes to waste. I don't know how to even explain this, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. It wasn't passed down to anyone. So that's how you ended up passing away this lifetime. Very unfortunate, very sad. I feel like in this lifetime now that you're listening to this recording, your soul really wants you to experience having a safe home environment and a safe family that you never got a chance to experience. I feel like you also could carry some, trauma from this past life from your home environment. And also you could be prone to escapism. I'm not going to say like, oh, you're prone to drugs and alcohol. Like that's a bit touchy and that's taking it a bit far. So I'm just going to say that you could be prone to like escapism, like trying to find a form of escape. And I think in this lifetime, your soul really wants you to be able to face and process whatever harsh or negative or heavy feelings you experience due to trauma, because in this past life, it was like you tried your best to escape from it. You never had a safe space to process it. So I feel like this lifetime, your soul is asking you to actually process this trauma instead of trying to escape from it. So we're going to get a little more into detail in the extended reading, and we're going to see if, if anybody from your past life is present in your life in this lifetime, and we're gonna pull cards for advice for you moving forward. So the link to the extended will be in the description box. And for those of you who don't know, the way that the extended readings work is that when I read for YouTube videos, it's more general because more people watch. But when I read for the extended videos, less people watch those. So I'm tapped into less people's energy and I'm able to get more specific messages. So the extended videos are somewhat like, you know, more personalized. And if you want a one-on-one personal reading, then, you know, I have those available as well. So the link to those will be in the description box. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys over on the extended video. Bye.